Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for, 17th, and didn't have a whole lot of action the other day. Let's scroll through the numbers here for the alert charts. And we'll start off here with the general high flyers. Pretty much a mixed bag. I mean, we had our expectation for a little bit higher, and well, that's about all we got, was just a little bit higher. The signal was still good, and it's a continuation from both two other signals that we have, both in the daily as well as the 50K. And we'll go over those in just a second as we finish the NASDAQ real quick. Perfect. Here we go. So we put in another bar. In fact, I should put another arrow right there. So back-to-back cyan, those usually do pretty decent. Last time we had +5 on it. The problem we had was we didn't have any support from the green buyers in the setup. It's all been steel the whole time, rising. Now at a safety zone here, crossing above the green at this particular point. We need to see a green pivot to really start to propel this, but back-to-back signals, it was a winner. Now, if we look at our daily, this is the NBI Opus, and it shows the Iron Hawk still in effect. No change with that one. And then secondarily, for a long setup, we also had the NBI Opus 2 in the 50K, just to make sure that it's clear on those. That one had a pretty decent entry there at 24 and 24.50. So already up pretty decent for those setups. Little warning signs. Like you said, already overbought at this particular lower level for a gain. And then you had the cyan break above. Not particularly healthy at this particular point. The best thing that's been holding up is the rising red. We need to see a spider develop here for green to get back above. Otherwise, I would be a little more cautious with that setup. All in all, nothing you can do about it. It is what it is, and we just have to be able to see it and say, okay, here's our contingency if we know that that's the case, and having break-even stop set up so that we can either re-enter on a dip later. That type of effect is the most appropriate approach. NQ, also negative, and rising there. And then if we look at the YM, it had the steel moving way up, but it's unfortunately bigger, even bigger spread. Now, key here would be to see a down cyan and an up green. Any change in those should propel a decent move back to the upside. Hasn't happened yet. We can see the bonds buy signal from there was pretty good and continued. Nice rising red. If it gets above that cyan, could produce a little bit more of that. USO oil continuing to make its move to the upside. No change yet. Yeah, it's getting a little dangerous though with the green now above the white, and I'd be looking to take some gains on any dip, particularly if we get down towards that EBM there. It's kind of a little bit of a separation from it. And Euro narrowing the gap just a little bit, so we weren't expecting a whole lot of improvement there, but just a teeny bit of improvement. We were not expecting anything positive from gold. There's the cyan break above and the expected tip down. Still has some strong support from the red, and it still does. To see where that peaks, because you're right at the level where you would be making a higher pivot, and in which case we may get a very small retrace before another leg up. So that's worth keeping an eye out for. AIG is fine, moving out of the safety zone here, but just in time for the green move above. Cyan dips below the red. That's all positive. All good stuff there. X, not thrilling. That's got the strong cyan above there. The only thing that's been holding it up here so far has been the red, and if that starts to fade a little bit more here, it could be trouble, so you got to be careful on that one. CLF, nothing. Even though it's got that buy support there, you do have a cross of the green over the red. If you can get a red above the white, that would be the beginnings of base move. You've got to get all the way back up here though on a strong red to get a higher pivot. Not exactly what you're looking for as far as strong mover. Bit of a retrace here, and now CLF WLT behaving a little more normal with that steel dipping below. Now you have to move above with the steel above the green. You need the green to pivot above and close that gap. So this becomes a little bit more normal behavior. as we moved in. You can see though all the way on that little move overbought, so that could be problematic as well. Let me take a look at a couple alert stocks here while we're at it. We've got Apple still doing okay. Amazon was trying to show some improvement. Unfortunately, Cyan, nice pop above. The only thing that kept that hold was the steel move. Baidu, our next candidate, doing just fine. Though you finally reached the pincer move here, I think you've got to use the bottom of that dip below there to be careful as a stop, because now it's starting to look a little weaker. FAS, we'd seen the weakness start there, and now you have the Cyan above. So more weakness in financials does not bode well if we want to see a market turnaround. Positive with the extreme here, as long as it doesn't dip below the red. If we can see a pop back up of it, that would be helpful. Not taking place so far. So don't get too thrilled with that. Facebook just caught in a quandary. In fact, now you've got Cyan back above, but it's all right nestled next to each other, so you're likely to just see some back and forth on that. Nothing horrible, but it also doesn't look great. And this is kind of the story we're seeing with a lot of them in Google. It broke above with the Cyan, that was negative. Now you're actually getting into deep red, so that could have a little bit more difficulty going on there. Netflix had been wonderful and continues to be wonderful, and that's a chart very different than the rest of the ones you see, because that separation of the green and steel below, and even on a little bit of weakness from the red and green where you haven't really seen any change in price, you haven't seen any improvement from shorts attacking that at all. PCLN has been trying to fight back, but it's been just a negative. Now we had expected all the way back here, and I called for, what was it, 1206 to come in, and we achieved that, last week, and here we are. So, shocked? No, but no one listens, and that's okay, because I posted this one for them on StockTwits, and they were going to ignore it, but it makes for an easy call. I mean, that was a nice run all the way down from, we were all the way up in the 1290 range, and then to have it go all the way down to 1200 is a piece of cake. Tesla, I put it in its buy, looked pretty healthy at that early startup. It started to continue, and boom, this is why you can't get dogma about a particular stock. You've got to just be flexible enough to let them go with what they are and take advantage of them as they come. So worked out beautifully. Twitter making just slow incremental moves. The red has just been rising gently, and can't complain about that. About to meet right here though, it's going to become critical. So at that particular point, I'd be looking at those intraday setups, and still a nice rising red. Just has to get above that Cyan, dip below here. Could present some trouble at this particular point, because usually when you get that Cyan, you got 1 to 2 days that you tend to get a pop, and then boom, it starts to fall down. But to see a little rollover in the red. So there you have it, the general of it. It's not looking all that horrible, but also not terrific. We've got a couple of buy signals, both from daily on the NBI Opus, and then also from the Power Mode 2 Opus 2 on the 50K, and then another Cyan long signal. Got to take them. Nothing else we can do. Yesterday was great for futures. We started -6. That made it easy to collect some inside move, particularly if you're going to follow the 50K. All good, as always. Trade well. I'm going to be out for the entire day. I'm going to be in Siena. But when I get back, we'll go over some more details. Trade well.